New tonight, there are new developments in a lawsuit stemming from a crash that killed two Stephen F. Austin student athletes.
Graylan Spring and Micah McAfoose driving in Corrigan January 20th when they were hit by an 18-wheeler. According to DPS, the 18-wheeler failed to yield to oncoming traffic. Both students later died of their injuries. KLTV7's Avery Niles was in the courtroom for today's hearing.
Angelina County Judge Bob Inselmann called a review hearing today in the SFA fatal crash. He says it's time to get the ball rolling on the case.
I'm stepping on the gas.
His goal was to set a trial date today, and while that didn't happen, he gave both sides' attorneys deadlines to have completed all of their depositions for discovery. The dates agreed upon were read by Jared Bloom. He is the defense attorney hired by the trucking company, representing both Hughes Trucking and the truck driver Antonio Sandoval Jr.
January 10th, 2023, depositions of interveners, mom and dad, plaintiffs, mom and dad, and defendant Hughes, defendant Sandoval, and Jackie Boggs.
Judge Inselmann ordered by the end of January all other depositions wanted by both sides have to be completed, and all discovery in the case has to be done by February 15th. Another attorney hired by the defendant, Marcy Rothman, wants both of the students' driver's license numbers as well as their education records for discovery.
The driver's license is relevant to whether or not these kinds of incidents have happened in the past with this driver. The second issue is on the educational records. If folks stand up and say, you know what, he was a great student, he was perfect. I've had this happen before. I'm not trying to cast aspersions on anybody, but I have to test it.
But Mike Love, the plaintiff's attorney hired to represent the family of Graylan Spring, says that discovery is unnecessary.
Our client was not driving. The other person's driver's license number is on the police report. You can order an abstract driver's license record. So that's all. I do that in every case. That's all red herrings. As far as the college records being relevant, I just don't think they're relevant, but if we can't agree on that, she should file a motion to compel.
Avery Niles, KLTV7 News.
They expect another hearing to take place sometime in February after discovery in the case is complete.